Thank you so much, again. My name is Aska Nyamuto, and today I'll be facilitating you on the tax amnesty that was introduced in the new Finance Act of 2023. Yes, the new Finance Act that was implemented, an introduction of in the section 37E introduced the tax amnesty. This is a new part of the new act that is going to facilitate taxpayer with amnesty for their fines, interest, and penalties. In the legal framework, just to let you know that the waiver, which is in the Tax Procedures Act of 2015, was deleted to be able to pave way for the amnesty, and also for the liabilities that a taxpayer would have that were normally granted in the section 37 of the TPA Act of 2015 that would pave way for write-off were also deleted. So this means that right now the only reprieve that we have for taxpayers is the tax amnesty. And when you're going to look at it, we're going to look in the 5 W's and 1 H, which is the what, why, when, who, where, and how is it granted. Yes, I think we've looked at what actually the tax amnesty is. It is a reprieve of all the penalties, interest, and fine that a taxpayer might have accrued for periods December 2022 going backwards. Yes, and when we look at why, KRA has and the Finance Act is trying to assist taxpayers to be compliant in their tax matters, because right now it's very stressful to be able to pay penalties and interest in these tough economic times. So this is, I think, a very good initiative that has come up, and we urge all our taxpayers to be able to take advantage of it so that they can be able to benefit in the remaining period. Just to go back a little bit, this is to let you know how does a taxpayer be fined. Is when you do not comply to certain regulations in terms of an obligation that a taxpayer might have. For example, for VAT, as a taxpayer, when you're registered for VAT, you're supposed to charge VAT to all your customers. But sometimes, maybe for one reason or another, our taxpayers don't do that. And when our market surveillance team find you in such a situation, you normally find. And now that amnesty is there, you can be able to take advantage of it. And also, when you look at fines, this interest is when you have filed and you're supposed to pay a certain principal amount as of a certain due date, but you don't pay. That means you'll be charged an interest for as in terms of the duration that you're supposed to pay. So if you stay with it for a month, a year, or so, it is calculated in regard to the amount of the period that liability is outstanding. And on the third one is the penalty. Penalty is when you're charged. You're supposed to file your return, your different respective returns as and of a certain due date. But when you have not adhered to that, you will be charged an penalty. They're very different. For pay as you earn, for example, it is the 9th of the subsequent month. You're supposed to file and pay any respective tax. And also for VAT or MRI, you're supposed to file and pay by the 20th of the subsequent month. This is sometimes is not the ideal situation because of one reason or another. you are not in a position to be able to adhere to these guidelines, so you'll be required to pay a certain penalty. But I think amnesty is a very good thing that you'll be able to get a reprieve in such instance. And when did this amnesty start, and what's the duration that is supposed to run? Yes, it was implemented in the 1st of September of 2023, and it is going to run up to the 30th of June of 2024. So we only gave a reprieve for 9 months, and as you're speaking right now, we only have 2 months to the end of this duration that you can be able to take advantage of the amnesty. Who qualifies? These are all our taxpayers, whether you are a corporate, be it a private company, a public limited company, a school, any company that was formed from the Register of Companies, and also for individuals, irrespective of the kind of individual you are, whether you're a resident or a non-resident in Kenya, all of you are eligible to be able to take advantage of the amnesty. Yes, is there any tax liability that has been, is there any taxpayer who's been cut off from this amnesty? There's no taxpayer. All of them are invited to be able to take advantage of the amnesty, and then all liabilities in respect to be it corporate tax, pay as you earn, VAT, MRI, all tax heads are eligible. Yes, so whichever tax head that you have, feel free and be able to take advantage of the amnesty. Yes. The other thing is, what are the liabilities that maybe are not part of it, part of the amnesty? It's the ones that are under EECMA, which is for the East Africa community, the levies and duties. Those ones are not the excluded. Penalties and interest from periods beginning of 1st January 2023, they're not going to be eligible. And then also penalties imposed under the other acts like the Banking Act. That one, it's not eligible. And the last one is under the Section 585 penalties. And the Section 85 is the one that deals with tax avoidance. Yes, the 4 are excluded in the amnesty. And how is the amnesty executed? As a taxpayer, what you're supposed to do, there are 4 main methods. The first one is the payment trigger, which if you have any liability and you settle the principal tax, it will refresh your ledger, and this will be able to give you an opportunity to be able to take advantage of the amnesty for even periods which did not have a principal tax. The other way is to log into your profile. If maybe the system has not triggered, you can log into your portal and just maybe have a look at what your iTax portal, how it looks like, what are the options, and either the drop down, and you can engage with it. So yes, once you do that, it will trigger. And then there's the office trigger. This trigger is when you visit our office, and we'll be able to run the amnesty for you. Yes. And the other one is system trigger. This system trigger is for taxpayers who do not have any liability. The system will automatically, we are running it every day so that it can be able to trigger your ledgers, and you'll be able to take advantage of the amnesty. Yes. And how do you apply for the amnesty? You're supposed to log in into your profile. And once you log in into your profile, there's a tab for debt and enforcement. And on that, you'll be able to see a drop down of iTax amnesty application. You'll be able to enter your respective tax obligations. And then once you've entered it, you'll propose the number of installments. But unfortunately, we only have 2 months. That means it will only grant you a maximum of 3. This means for April, May, and for June. And then you'll be required to pay any principal tax that is outstanding. And once you pay, the system will be able to facilitate you with the amnesty. And by doing so, it will send you an amnesty certificate, which is going to tell you that you have been granted an amnesty for that specific period and of which amount. Yes. Is there anything that you will need to be attached when you're applying for an amnesty? No, there's nothing you'll be required to attach, because in the recent past, when you normally used to apply for amnesty or for waiver, you would normally be required to you'll normally be required to attach a number of documents. But in this instance, now that you don't have there's nothing that you'll be required to attach. This means that you'll just enter into the portal, and then you'll be able to once you pay the principal tax, you'll be granted. And the only amount that you'll be required to pay is the principal tax. No payment of any interest, penalties, or fines that are due. So I think this is a very good initiative, because in the recent past, you used to make sure that you prove beyond reasonable doubt that for sure you are eligible to be able to take advantage of the waiver. But right now, the amnesty is very easy, very simple, and it also assists our taxpayers to be able to take advantage, to be able to be compliant. This means that once you've just settled your principal, all other penalties and interest and fines are going to be automatically removed in a layman's language from your ledger. I think that I think that is the major. We've gone through the major 5 W's and 1 H. So I'll just go through any other thing as a taxpayer that you'll be required to do. Just to let you know, as a matter of information, is that amnesty is granted per period, per obligation, as opposed to per PIN. This means that once you pay, if you have, for example, a principal for period, say, beginning of January of 2022 all the way to December, once you pay for, say, for January and February, for the other months, for the period that you settle the principal, you'll be granted amnesty. So once you settle, you'll be granted amnesty for that specific tax head and obligation that you have settled the principal tax. So this is, I think, a good thing if you're not able to settle the full amount, but for the periods where you have settled, you'll be granted amnesty for the ones that you have fully settled the principal tax. And any principal tax that will remain outstanding past the 30th of June of 2024 in any given period or tax head, this means that you will, despite the fact you might have applied for amnesty, but you have not maybe settled fully the principal tax, the penalties and interest are going to remain outstanding. So this is to also give you as a matter of information, make sure when you're settling it, you settle for every obligation per period, so that you could be able to take advantage of the amnesty for the ones that maybe have the largest amount of interest and penalty. And also a reminder that any debt accruing for any for 1st of January 2023 going forward, you're not going to be granted any amnesty to those ones. Those ones you'll be required to pay. And how do we like our taxpayers to work together? So you could be our voice to other taxpayers, which are your family members, your friends, your organizations, your even colleagues and acquaintances. Just let them know about Amnesty. I think it's a very good initiative that all of us should be able to take up. And also, the taxpayers who might have reconciliation issues in terms of either payment or pay as you earn reconciliations, or any kind of reconciliation that you might have maybe in regard to amendment of returns, we kindly request you to provide documentation where necessary. If the payments were not captured for mostly the period for 2020, 14, 15, and 16, when we were migrating into the new system, which is iTax from our previous system. There are some payments which are not maybe in iTax and you filed in iTax. So that means that maybe you have a liability which is not valid. Kindly visit our office. There are a number of documents that you require as proof of payment, and then we'll liaise with our finance department, which are working round the clock to make sure that everyone is able to correct their ledger to the correct position that it's supposed to be. So kindly provide that. If you have maybe your returns that you have not done properly, have a look at them, settle them properly, make sure they are amended to the correct position, and if it requires any kind of approval, you take advantage of the amnesty, have it approved, so that any penalties and interest which could have accrued to be able to be written off your ledger. Also, if you have any post settlements, kindly take advantage of the amnesty by fast tracking the process. If it's documentation you're supposed to provide, get to a point of agreement so that by 30th of June you would have settled any liability that could have accrued from that kind of arrangement. If maybe an additional assessment was raised to your ledger and you weren't in agreement and maybe you did an objection and it went to the independent review team or the ADR team, you could be able to take advantage of the amnesty by providing documentation, making sure you avail yourself when you're required to, so that an agreement could be able to be reached for you to be able to take advantage of the amnesty. This is specifically for the periods of December 2023 going backward. And also for those employees who have not filed their returns, they are also eligible for the amnesty. They'll be required to file their returns and make sure they make the correct declarations. And also for those taxpayers who maybe have wrong obligations in their ledger, you'll be required to visit our office and let us know if, say, you have VAT and it's not an obligation where you're required to have or pay as you earn, whichever kind, or even the rental obligation, you could please visit our office. We are very willing and ready to facilitate you, be able to take advantage of the amnesty by making sure that if anything that is in your ledger is the correct position of you as our dear taxpayer. Yes. And also, just to let you know, we have a number of assessments. The first one being the self-assessment, where as a taxpayer, you're supposed to file you do your self-assessment as a taxpayer in regard to your taxes, you file. And then in case maybe you find there's an issue, you are given an opportunity to do an amended return. If the tax liability from the first return is going downwards, or it's reducing, our system will automatically require an approval from the back office. In that instance, you're required to provide supporting documents on why you did an error and what the error was, so that we could be able to assist you. And then also there's also the additional assessment. Additionally, the assessment is from the KRA team. We will find out that maybe there's more information that you're supposed to declare in your return, but you failed to declare because of one reason or another. We normally raise an additional assessment. As a taxpayer, you have the right to be able to object to it and to be given a fair hearing. And you'll go to a legal team where you'll have a sit down, you'll provide the documentation. And if your reasons are very valid, we'll be able to grant you a decision. If maybe it's partial, there are three kinds of decisions. It can either be fully accepted, fully rejected, or it can be partial. And in such instances, if maybe you have such a case, you could visit our team at CBC, which is in Upper Hill, where they will be able to correct your ledger if there was any partial or fully acceptance of your objection, so that your correct position in your ledger could be able to be updated, and you'll be and if there's any partial payment, kindly settle the amount by the 30th of June, so that you could be able to take advantage of the amnesty. And if maybe as a taxpayer, you should consider any voluntary disclosure for a previous period where you might have filed return but you didn't declare the correct amount. You have a leeway to be able to do an amendment and declare those amounts, and those amounts will not be charged to any kind of fine. You'll just be required to do payments for the amount that you had previously not declared and you were supposed to declare. And if you pay the amount by the 30th of June, we'll be very glad and willing to be able to take you through the amnesty and for you to be able to benefit. And also, on the last point is, if you have any audits which are ongoing right now, you're also eligible for amnesty. Kindly provide any documentation that you might have been required to provide by our officers, so that once the correct position has been established, and an additional assessment will be raised, and then you'll be able to settle the liabilities in good time, so that you could be able to take advantage of the amnesty. And onto the last bit, so that maybe we could create more time for Q&As, is where can you get this information? I think it's a very good platform. The fact that we are here as taxpayers, you're able to get information. Information is power. You actually get an opportunity to get the correct information that you can use to be able to make informed decisions in regard to your tax matters. And also you can visit our website, which is the www.kra.go.ke. You'll be able, on the guidelines on amnesty, you'll be able to get more information about our training right now, and also any other relevant information in regard to your tax matters. And also, you should also, as a taxpayer, check of any public notice that KRA might have shared in one way or another in different publications, in our social media, in our KRA TV, in the internet, on Twitter, which is X, on the newspapers, everywhere. So please take advantage of it. And also, on the last one is to be able to let you know that update your email addresses on iTax if you're not able to get the correct. You don't get emails from KRA. Kindly check that the email that is in your PIN is the correct one. And if maybe it's wrong one, feel free. You can contact KRA. We can be able to change it for you to the correct position, so that you'll be able to get all our emails that you normally send periodically, so that as a taxpayer, you'll be able to benefit from information that you normally send to you. And it's not always, just take a minute and go through it. It's not always dull and gloom from KRA. We have sometimes very good information, for example, this amnesty, and we could be able to give you credible information, so that you're making your decisions in regards to taxes. You make them with the best information and knowledge that you might require as our dear taxpayer. And then also we have an email which is called center@kra.go.ke, and we also have our telephone lines that you could be able, our head call centers, telephone numbers where you can contact us. I'm going to write them on the chat box, so that once you have any issue in regard to whatever matters, even if it's now, even if it's later, you could be able to contact us, and we'll be very willing to assist you in such matters. So I think, Sharon, I'm done for now. I could maybe go into the chat box to be able to maybe answer a number of your questions.
Wow, thank you very much, Aska, for that beautiful session and giving us and enlightening us on tax amnesty. I think the questions, lots of questions are coming in. Um, uh, Please allow me to read the questions and ask you if that is okay, Aska.
Yes, please.
Okay, so the first question is from Doreen Ikala Musakala. And she says, I got an amnesty certificate stating you are hereby granted amnesty of fines, penalties, and interest amounting to Kenyan shillings 31,869 and 50 cents as provided uh,
I think we have lost Sharon. Sharon, are you there?
Oh, yeah. So sorry. Sorry for that. So she was given a penalty, an interest amount of 31,869.50 as provided for under Section 37E of the Tax Procedure Act 2015 of Tax Amnesty. Do I again need to apply for any waiver, or that certificate sorts me out and I need not apply for anything? So she got the certificate saying that she has been granted for amnesty of fines, penalties, and interest amounting to 31,869. And then she goes ahead and says, does she need to apply, or is that it?
That is it, madam. Once you have already been granted that certificate, it means that now you're okay. You can go ahead and be happy and be a compliant. Like Jesus said, you forgive and sin no more. So I think
Yes.
that's a good opportunity for you now to be compliant going forward. There's nothing much you need to do as a taxpayer in regard to amnesty or anything going forward.
Okay.
Yes.
The other question is from Maina Hungi. Most taxpayers are requesting for the amnesty to be extended and cover the financial year 2023. The power of mercy has no limits, no time limits. I think that's just a statement. So he's requesting if the amnesty can be extended. I don't know if you have
As you
any.
Okay, fine. As you're seated right now, we have a deadline of 30th of June of 2024. We will wish to extend it, but that is the deadline that we have now. In case there's any further communication, we'll let you know. But as of now, no, we
Okay.
only have it until 30th
Yes.
of June.
Yes. Other question from Shah. Hi, I have pay and VAT liabilities for 2014, the year when iTax came into effect. Payments were done, but credits not reflecting on ledger. Does this mean I have to do amnesty or just reconcile with carry?
Um, Come up again. Please read the question again. There's something
So
I
the
didn't
question is
get.
from Shah. It says, Hi, I have pay and VAT liabilities for 2014, the year when iTax came into effect. Payments were done, but credits not reflecting on ledger. Does this mean I have to do amnesty or just reconcile with KRA?
In that instance, I think you need to reconcile with Kerry. I'd gone through it, and I'd given a number of instances where reconciliation is needed. If you've actually made the payment, you don't need to make a second payment in regards to the same liability that you've already paid. What you need to do, visit your tax station office. Will be able to let you know a number of documents. They are just a credit, a bank advice, and a letter requesting for you for that payment to be captured in the ledger. Once the payment has been captured to the ledger, it will automatically grant you amnesty. So if you've already paid but you don't have any credit, just visit our office. We'll facilitate that for you. You don't have to do that again.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from David. And David is asking, is an inactive company eligible for penalties and amnesty?
Yes, it's very eligible. You know, what I normally like to tell our taxpayer, our first form of communication from you to us is filing your return. There are different types of return. There's a credit return, there's a payable return, and there's a nil return. In all the instances, they have very different reasons they communicate, ways they communicate to us. It being number one, if it's a nil return, it means you have not done business, it's maybe inactive, and you've not done any profitable venture for that year. So yes, and then there's payable return. That means you've made a tax profit and you'll be required to pay, and a loss or a credit, depending with the kind of obligation. This means that in case if it's for VAT for credit returns, it means that your input was more than your output. That is very much allowed. It is okay. You don't need to pay. And also in regard to the annual return, which is the corporate or the income tax for individuals, where there is a loss, you're also not required to pay anything. So kindly make sure you file your returns to be able to communicate to us, to be able to know whether how your company has performed in regard to your taxes. So yes, all inactive companies are eligible. The only thing you need to do is just one. Log in into your ledger, file a nil return, and once you file a nil return, lo and behold, you'll be granted amnesty for those penalties.
Thank you for that. Another question that should be our second last question is how to file amnesty. How do I file amnesty for individual income return tax? Please assist.
So, there are taxpayers. There are a number of ways where a taxpayer can be able to benefit from amnesty. I think I've gone through them. If you are an individual and number one, you need to file your returns for the system to be able to charge you a penalty or an interest, respectively. And if you don't have any principal tax as an individual, you're not supposed to apply for amnesty. What you need to do, just log in into your ledger, and once you log in into your ledger, the system will be able to log in into your portal, sorry. And then once you log in into your portal, the system will be able to refresh your ledger and it will grant you amnesty. And if by any instance that is not done, you can be able to contact us. I've done the email, and I've also shared the contacts. Or even if you're near any KRA office, you can visit. As long as there's no principal tax, will automatically give you. But in an instance where you have any principal tax that needs to be paid, what you need to do, you log in into your KRA iTax portal, and then there's a drop down for debt and enforcement. Once you click on it, it's going to direct you to the amnesty application. And in the amnesty application, you'll be required to enter the different taxes that have any liabilities. And then once you do that, it will be able to auto-populate all the liabilities that you have. And once that is done, it will give you somehow like a payment plan on how you're supposed to settle it. I told you we only have like 2 to 3 times you're required to pay. And once you click on it, you'll submit the information. And once you submit the information, you'll be required to pay a certain amount. It will send you automatically to the payment option. You'll select the payment option and then you'll be able to pay. And also, just to let you know, our dear taxpayers, is you might have said you will settle monthly, say by the 5th of every month. That is maybe the 5th of May and the 5th of June. But because of one reason or another, that does not limit you to those specific dates. If you get any money and you're willing to settle, just go to the payments tab and then you'll be able to generate the payment slip, and the system will automatically approve that payment without it necessarily following through with the application that you had done on Amnesty. Yes. I think that I've answered you comprehensively.
Yes. And to the second last, okay, there are more questions that have come in. So in the situation where you actually pay, but the return fails due to system technical issues, should KRA penalize you?
What you need to do in such instances where you're not where you actually pays you, but the return fails to submit due to a system or technical issue, when you're filing and then it doesn't go through, it normally tells you to submit a complaint, like a complaint that you're not able to. Once you're supposed to do that, or immediately take a screenshot of that the system error that is giving you that you're not able to submit it. Come with it. The system will obviously penalize you because it's a system. It's once a certain due date has reached and it has not received your return, it will do that. But in an instance where it was not your fault as a taxpayer, you just need to visit your TSO with supporting with the evidence that for sure you tried, but this was the error. You tried maybe reaching our call center, but they are not at a position to help, or you visited the office, you did a letter, or and for a reason or the other, maybe that was not solved within the due date, then we'll be able to reverse
Inasema nini?
the penalties. Reverse meaning that you'll be able to remove those penalties that the system would have charged you, which is not as a result of your mistake. Yes.
Uh, nice. So we have another question, and it says, in line with the amnesty discussion, there were penalties that were imposed in 2023 when the Finance Act was passed on withholding tax payment within 5 days. Do you have a plan for taxpayers around waiver for this, as the taxes were promptly paid thereafter?
What you need to do, you should visit your respective TSO and let them analyze the case, because it's a case-to-case basis. What was the issue that maybe led to the amount not being submitted by the due date, and then we'll be able to facilitate you with the reversal in case it was a valid issue where it was beyond your capability to be able to file or pay on time.
We had lost you there. Once you
Oh,
started speaking, you disappeared kidogo. So you could,
okay,
if you
fine.
don't
Can you
mind.
hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, fine. So I'm saying in such an instance, what you need to do as a taxpayer, you're supposed to visit your tax station office with evidence and tell us maybe what was the reason why you were not able to pay or file on time, and then we'll be able to facilitate you accordingly with the tools and the methods that we have to be able to assist you to be compliant. Yes, and I think Sharon, there's
Yes.
another case, there's another
Uh-huh.
question. Can you explain what principal tax means?
Yes.
Principal due,
That
yes.
should be our last.
Okay, fine. So this means when you're filing a return and there's tax, say if you've done business and you've made a profit, KRA normally charges tax on the profit. You've maybe made uh, you've done a sale of say 100 shillings, you had an input of say 50 shillings, so you made a profit of say 50 shillings. Out of the 50 shillings that you made as profit, KRA is going to charge, say if it's a company, a 30%. 30% of it is around, like say 17 shillings. So the 17 shillings is what you're supposed to pay as tax. So that is what principal tax is. And if maybe it's for rental income, we charge at 7.5%, which is the new rate, beginning recently, I think the beginning of this year. Yes. So now it is going to be 7.5% of the gross income that you've received from, say, rental income that you've received from your tenants. So I think I've explained what principal tax is.
Yes. Yes, you have. You've done an amazing job. Thank you very, very much. We thank you very much for that presentation. And thank you very much also for spending your time to assist us and explaining to us what tax amnesty is. I'd like to also reiterate or emphasize the fact that the tax amnesty is time bound, and let's take advantage of it because it's coming to a lapse on the 30th of June. Let us be the ambassadors to ensure that everybody takes advantage of this tax amnesty so that everybody can be kila mtu asamehewe madeni zake na KRA If you need any information, right now we are live on KRA TV. If you would like to go back and listen to the explanation, you can go back and listen to it because it's live right now and it will be live on KRA TV. So also on KRA TV, we have all other topics of discussions that we've been able to discuss. We have discussions on e-teams, we have discussions on VAT, we have live recordings on every training we've had, and also we have tutorials on how to file the 2023 returns. So once we get to see that you are following, and also we really appreciate that you have been with us throughout this training session. Would like to thank all of us who've participated, for those who asked the questions, and also please go follow KRA TV. That is KRA TV on YouTube. Follow, subscribe, and turn on the notification to ensure that you get the latest information on tax amnesty and the latest information on e-teams and any other KRA related topic. Thank you very much for everyone who's participated. At this juncture, I'd like to close the meeting and say that the meeting is officially closed. We'd like to thank all of you and have a beautiful afternoon in the next minute. So asanteni sana, and we usually have trainings every week on Thursdays. So you can tune into our Tax Thursdays. That is also tomorrow. That also goes live every week. Thank you very much and have a beautiful afternoon ahead. You can leave the meeting at your pleasure. Thank you very much.